Hello everybody, my name is Jenna and I am so excited that you could join me today to go through a storytelling and character workshop. We are going to be looking at a very famous story, The Little Red Riding Hood. So I hope some of you have heard of it, but don't worry if you haven't, because you don't need to know the story of Little Red Riding Hood to have some fun today. So we're going to be looking at how we can use our bodies to differentiate between different characters, whether it's a bad character or whether it's maybe an innocent character or maybe a really funny character. We're going to be looking at ways that we can explore different characters with our body, with our faces and our voices. And then we are also going to put it into context in a real life story at the end, where I'm going to be asking you all to join in with me and act a version of Little Red Riding Hood out. Now, I don't know if you have heard of an author, a very famous author called Roald Dahl. Well, he actually wrote a different version of the classic fairy tale that we know, or some of you know, in his Revolting Rhymes book. So we're actually going to be looking at that one. So a little thought before we start: if you have anything lying around that you think could add to your characters, whether that's the big bad wolf, whether you've got anything furry or anything dark, even if it's something dark to represent the wolf, it could be a scarf, a coat, a jumper, anything that's lying around, a towel, just anything in your house. We've obviously got Little Red Riding Hood. You might have a basket, you might have just a bag that she could be carrying. It could be a red coat, or it could be a red jacket, a bit of material, absolutely anything that you think you might have. We've also got the character of Grandma as well. We've got the woodcutter in there. So it is up to you and your imagination to potentially grab anything you think you could add to the story, because it is completely up to you. We are going to just try and bring it alive as much as we can. Now, before we get going, I think it's really important that we begin to warm up our bodies and our faces and switch on our brains to get going. So we're going to have a little bit of a movement warm up. All I'm going to ask you to do is copy me as much as you possibly can. It's a little bit of a mirroring exercise to music, and then we are going to crack on with our story and character telling, okay? So let's start by shaking your hands. Shake off your hands there. Cut them together and give a big shake with your body. That's it. Shake off your whole arms and then move it all through your body, from your head, your hands, to your arms, your torso, down to your legs, all the way down. Brilliant. We're just going to clap. Ready? Up, down, and twist. Okay, just copy me, mirroring. Up, down, try and grab the screen. And again. You're in the screen. You're going to turn around. Up, down, down, brilliant. And shake off your shoulders, go back to those hands, and then really slowly we're just going to move our bodies round. Brilliant, fantastic everyone. So next, what we're just going to do is warm up our faces. Now, in lots of different characters, obviously we've got lots of different personalities and different emotions that we might feel as well as human beings, all ourselves. So I want you to show me your happiest face. So the biggest, cheesiest smile you can possibly make. And if it had a sound, what would that sound be? You can completely decide your own sound. What sound would that be? Mine is going to be this. that's an excited smile. Give me all your big excited smiles. Cheese! Fantastic. Okay, we're going to completely change the emotion now. So we've gone from feeling really happy or excited, and actually we're a little bit angry. We're really angry now. Somebody might have eaten your last biscuit, or you could think of a character that's really, really angry. So in this story, we've got the big bad wolf. So he could be really, really angry. Or in another story, it could be the giant at the top of the beanstalk. He could be really angry. Fee, fi, fo, fum. So really show me that facial expression there of anger. Urgh. I think you are a little bit angrier than that. So can you give me another 100% ready? 1, 2, 3, really angry. Urgh. Fantastic. And there I could even see and hear that you brought your body into it as well. So that's fantastic. So we're really mirroring that feeling and that emotion in our body as well. Okay, so another emotion that we're going to feel, just to warm up our faces a little bit, is I want you to imagine that you've actually just walking down to the bottom of your garden and you do see a massive beanstalk that has just grew overnight and you are super, super shocked. Now you're even more shocked than that. There's a beanstalk at the bottom of your garden. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Let me see those mouths wide open. Fantastic, brilliant. Shake all that off. Fantastic, okay. Now, let's start to think about what makes a good story. What makes a good story? What would you start with? Where would you start? So if you had a piece of paper and a pen, what would you start to write down first? Who knows? If you have some ideas, I want you to shout them out now. Any ideas? Okay, I think we need to grab a mixing bowl. So I'm going to bend down because we've got a mixing bowl right here. Oh, here we go. We've got our mixing bowl. We've got a spoon. Grab your spoon. Show me your spoons. Fantastic. And then I want you to get your ingredients list. Now, balance the bowl there. We've got our ingredients list here. Let's have a look at ingredients. So let's start with subject matter. Do we think that's important? We need to have a subject for the story, don't we? Where the story is going to go. What is that subject? So let's put that subject matter in our mixing bowl. Let's give it a little bit of stir there. Stir in the subject matter. And then on our ingredients list here, we have setting. Now, where is the story set? I think that's really, really important for a story as well. So grab your setting, pop it in your mixing bowl and give that a mix. So we've got the subject matter and the setting in there. And then, of course, in the story, we have lots of characters. So we need to grab some characters. So grab some characters, wherever they are. Are they down below? Are they up above? Grab the characters you want in your story and all give that all a mix. Oh, it's getting a bit full now, isn't it? Brilliant. Keep that mixing. Okay. And of course, arguably the most important thing for storytelling is imagination. We need heaps of your imagination. Your mind is amazing and it can do lots of wonderful things. So there is no end to that imagination. If you have all this imagination, you can create whatever you want to create. So I think we should get heaps and heaps and heaps of imagination. So grab all that imagination from every bit of the room and pop it in that mixing bowl. And give it a big stir. My arms get a little bit sore now because there's so many things. We've got our subject matter, we've got our setting, we've got characters, and we've got our imaginations. And that is all you need to start a story. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to get this mixing bowl. We're going to pop it in a tray in the oven and we're going to bake a beautiful story of our own, hopefully very soon. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is to start to look at a story that's already been made, one that's already been baked. We are going to look at Little Red Riding Hood. So of course, for a great story, we usually have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then we've got lots of different bits of action that happens in between those sections. So first, we've got Little Red Riding Hood wants to go and visit her grandma and bring her lovely treats, doesn't she? So she sets off into the woods. Who does she meet? She meets the wolf. Now the wolf is lovely to Little Red Riding Hood. He said, where are you going? And she says, oh, I'm off to go visit my grandma. So he's there, very cunning. Interesting. Leaves Little Red Riding Hood alone. So we've got the beginning of the story, how it starts off. Now the middle of the story, we have the wolf, who is very cunning, runs ahead to Grandma's house. He tricks Grandma into letting him in. He then gobbles Grandma up, uses her clothes to disguise himself as Grandma. What is going to happen next? So Little Red Riding Hood comes along, knocks on the door, and then is let in. So again, the disguise works. She goes into Grandma's house thinking it's Grandma, and lo and behold, the wolf gobbles up Little Red Riding Hood as well. Now the end of the story. Fortunately for Grandma and Red Riding Hood, the woodcutter who was in the wood heard Little Red Riding Hood screams. He runs in and he kills the wolf, and Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood are saved because the wolf swallowed them whole. So they are saved and they all live happily ever after. So we've got a beginning, a middle, a end. And the main event is where the big explosion happens. So the climax of the story, which is classed as the climax of the main event of the story. So I think before we get on, we are going to start to learn a story told in a different way. Now, what I mean by that is we know that we could read a book, but how else could we tell a story? We have got so many different ways of telling stories. Can anybody think? Can you shout them out? How else could you tell a story? How else could you possibly tell a story? Brilliant. I have got so many ideas. So we've got song, we've got music, we've got the lyrics of songs that tell stories. We don't only have that though, we've got poems, poetry. Poems tell brilliant stories. And on our big screen as well at home, we've got films, movies, we've got musicals. There is so many different ways that we can actually tell a story. So we are going to play a quick game before we learn our song. And that is called Traffic Lights. So I am going to give you out instructions and I am going to test how well you have listened and how well and quick your body can move as soon as you hear that word. So first way of telling a story is going to be our novel, and we're going to sit down and read our novel. So that's going to be our first position. So can you all show me that position? We're sat down and we're reading our novel. So that's our first way of telling a story. The second way of telling a story is going to be poetry. So we're going to be up above and we're going to be writing our poetry. Write it down. So that's your second action. So we've got a novel and then we've got poetry up above. Fantastic. Now the next one I want you to all do really, really loud is going to be our song, singing. And we're just going to go step forward and go, ah! So really throw your arms up and I want you to hear really nice and loud. Just go, ah! As loud as you can. Brilliant. So that's song. So we've got novel down here. We've got poetry up here. And we have song ah! Up there. Our last one is going to be a film. So we're going to grab our camera and we're going to reel our camera like we're filming. Fantastic. So we have 4 moves and 4 different ways of telling a story. We've got a novel, poetry, song, and lastly, film. Okay, I am going to do it with you once more, and then I want to see how many of you can do it as quick as you can. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, novel. Song, novel, poetry, film, poetry, novel, song. Okay, are you all ready? You've all had a bit of practice now. We are going to go as quick as we possibly can. I'm not going to be helping you. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, novel, song, poetry, novel, film, novel, song, poetry, film, novel, film, song. Fantastic. Give yourselves a big round of applause. That is brilliant. Okay, so we've thought now about different ways that we can tell a story. And one of those was song. So what we're going to do now is have a little look at this. Now, my screen will go a little bit blurry, but hopefully you can see those lyrics here in front. So just ignore me being a bit blurry. I think it's important that we've got the lyrics on the screen for you. So this song is from a musical called Into the Woods, and Little Red Riding Hood sings it. So I'm going to teach you how it goes. So we're just going to clap a steady beat like this, if you can all join in. Nice and steady. 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. So let's do that again. So even if you just want to clap along, that is absolutely fine. But if you can join in and just sing along, that would be brilliant. So take your time. 3, 2, 1, and into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to do that one more time, a little bit quicker this time. Okay, are we ready? 3, 2, 1, off we go. Into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Fantastic. So we're going to pretend that we are Little Red Riding Hood. So if you have any bits of clothing at all that you want to use as Little Red Riding Hood, please go ahead. So I'll put the lyrics up in a little minute, but we're going to just really quickly think about Little Red Riding Hood. So what we know about Little Red Riding Hood at the minute, this is my version of Little Red Riding Hood. You don't need anything other than just a jumper or a blanket, just anything that represents. So what kind of character is she? Well, she's quite innocent. She's going to visit a grandma with a basket of things. She might be quite fearful as well of the woods and of the dark, and then she meets a wolf. So we are going to play Little Red Riding Hood a little bit timid like this. So imagine that you're a little bit scared. How do you use your body? So maybe your shoulders are a little bit raised like this. You might be holding everything really close to you. So if you pretend you've got a basket, you might be holding it like this. And our facial expression, what are we doing with our faces? So we're not sure. So eyes maybe side to side, looking round. And then if we look at our voices, so we're quite quiet and a bit nervous. So it might be shaking. If you practice that, can you get a little bit of a nervous shake in your voices? So we've got our body language is a little bit hunched over. We're quite fearful of maybe what's going to happen. We're a bit scared, but also we're a little bit excited to see grandma. So let's add that in as well. And we're a bit so excited, but a bit fearful. We're excited, oh, but what's going to happen? A bit fearful. Brilliant. So our bodies, our voices, and our facial expressions are really showing how Little Red Riding Hood is feeling at that moment. So what we're going to do now is sing the song as Little Red Riding Hood. So remember our body language for Little Red Riding Hood, our voices, how we might sing it, and also our facial expressions. So I'll pop the lyrics back up if you want the lyrics. Are you ready? So really focus on the voice and how you're going to perform the song. 3, 2, 1, and into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Fantastic. Okay, so let's stay as Red Riding Hood for the moment. Let's creep back out and then shake it off. Okay, so just shake it off and get rid of that costume, and then let's shake Little Red Riding Hood off. Okay, so we're going to have a little go at grandma now as well. So again, anything you want to represent grandma, it can be absolutely anything. So how would grandma, how do old people stand? So if this is our normal stance, we're nice and tall and straight and shoulders are back, how would, maybe if you had a bit of a backache, oh, you're a little bit older, how would we stand? So let's have a look at that. So we've got a bit of a bend in our back there and we'd be a little bit slower. So let's walk along as grandma. So we're walking along a little bit slower and our facial expressions, show me your grandma facial expressions. Do they have teeth? They might not have any teeth. Let's have a play around with that. They might not have any teeth at all. And we might have a walking stick as well. So let's show just walking down the street as grandma walking and our voices are a little bit shaky. So show me your best grandma. Oh, and we're going to say, hello, hello everyone. So that's all we're going to say is hello for grandma. Hello, hello, hello. And walk along. Oh, oh, hello, hello. Fantastic. Okay, and snap out of grandma, shake grandma off. Fantastic. And finally, the big bad wolf. Right, so I've got this fur coat to be a little bit more wolf-like. And then we're going to get into a position that we feel might represent the wolf. So we've had grandma, we've had Little Red Riding Hood, quite innocent, and now we've got the big bad wolf. So how might he move? And see how I'm changing my voice now to a little bit more characterful and confident and a little bit sinister as well. So practice with your voices and might say, hello, Little Red Riding Hood. Hello, Little Red Riding Hood. Can you all say it with me? Hello, Little Red Riding Hood. And what's our faces? Scrunched up a little bit evil, looking through the side of the eyes, really looking fantastic. And what we're going to do with this one is sing the song as the wolf and see how different that is. Okay, so remember our body language, our voices and our facial expressions. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, and into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Evil, show me your evil. Can anybody do an evil laugh? Show me your evil laughs. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So we do have here a picture that represents Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf. So if you see that there, to give you a little bit of inspiration for our next exercise, which is going to be our performance. So I would really, really love it if you could get your costume again. So have it all round. I know I'm a little bit hazy with this backdrop. So have your costume to a side. And what I really want you to do is, whilst we're reading the story, I really want to encourage you to be using lots of different sounds. Any different sounds, even if it's crunching through the woods, crunch, crunch, crunch. Knocking, if you hear me say knocking on the door, I want you to knock. I want you to try and bring this story to life as much as you possibly can. Okay, so we've got the big bad wolf, we've got Little Red Riding Hood, and of course we have already looked as well at Grandma. So, are you ready for our performance? Give yourselves a big shake off. Get lots of energy because I would love to have you all get involved for our final story and acting out as much as you can. So firstly, this story, so this is Roald Dahl's version of Revolting Rhymes, Little Red Riding Hood. So it might be quite fast paced. So how is the wolf? We start off with the wolf. Show me your wolf expression. So as soon as the wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, He went and knocked on Grandma's door. Can you knock? And when Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth. Show me your sharp white teeth. And the horrid grin. Show me your horrid grins. And Wolfie said, "May I come in?" Poor Grandmama was terrified. "He's going to eat me up," she cried. Get your grandma on. And she was absolutely right. So can you show me Grandma being terrified? Show me Grandma being terrified. And she was absolutely right. He ate her up in one big bite. Can you show me the wolf gobbling up Grandma? But Grandmama was small and tough, and Wolfie wailed, "That's not enough. I haven't yet begun to feel like I have had a decent meal." He ran to the kitchen. Can you show me running to the kitchen as fast as you can? Ran to the kitchen, yelping, "I have to have a second helping." Then added, with a frightful leer, "I'm therefore going to wait right here." So you can tell the wolf's thinking, so really curious. Till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood. He quickly put on Grandma's clothes, getting changed, putting Grandma's clothes on. Of course he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself in coat and hat, put on shoes, and after that, he brushed and even curled his hair. Show me brushing your hair, curling your hair. Then sat himself in Grandma's chair. So how would you sit in Grandma's chair? How is the wolf sitting? In came Little Red Riding Hood. So if you've got your costume, pop that on. In came Little Red Riding Hood. She stopped and stared, and then she said, "Well, what big ears you have, Grandma." "All the better to hear you with," the wolf replied. "Well, what big eyes you have, Grandma." "All the better to see you with," the wolf replied. Then he sat there watching and smiled. Can you show me a really evil smile of the wolf? He's thinking. He thought, "I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old Grandmama, she's going to taste like caviar." Can you show me that tasting really, really yummy? Caviar, fantastic. Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "But Grandma, what a big, lovely coat you have on." "That's wrong," cried Wolf. "Have you forgot to tell me what big teeth I've got?" Show me your big teeth. Well, no matter what you say, I'm gonna eat you anyway." The small girl smiles and one eyelid flickers. Can you show me that eye flickering? She whips a pistol from her knickers. You show me your little pistol. She aims it at the creature's head. She's aiming it at the creature. And bang, bang, bang. Oh, the creature is dead. A few weeks later, in the wood, so walking in the wood, I came across Miss Riding Hood. But what a change. No cloak of red. No silly hood upon her head. She said, "Hello. Oh, and please do note my lovely furry wolf skin coat." And a big cheesy smile at the end from Little Red Riding Hood. Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, can you give yourselves a big round of applause? Well done. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining in with me, and thank you so much for exploring the different characters. We've figured out that we can use our imagination in that big mixing bowl with lots of different things to create a story. So I would love it if you could go away and write a story. That would be amazing. And thank you so much for performing with me as well. That has been so much fun. So before we go, I would love to end on our song. If we could all just sing our song one last time together. Okay, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to go. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Fantastic, brilliant. Give yourselves another big, big round of applause. Big, big round of applause. Take a bow. Take a bow. Lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been so much fun. See you again soon. Bye.